Have you ever been out in the water at your favorite beach, maybe floating on a raft, maybe just hanging out in the water, when suddenly you look up and you're at least 100 yards down from where you started? You are not the only thing that current carries unknowingly through the water, and those currents play a very important role in why marine areas that are protected from fishing are very important in keeping the number of fish healthy while allowing fishing to continue in other areas. There are two kinds of fish in particular that have been studied to look at why these protected areas help create sustainable fishing in areas that are not protected. I mean sustainable in that people can fish either for recreation or commercially in a way that will help the overall numbers of fish stay consistent and remain at a steady level. These two fish are called the coral trout and the stripy snapper. These fish live in both the protected areas and the areas that are open for fishing. But recently, we've found that having these protected areas actually helps support the number of fish in the non-protected areas too. To state this numerically for all you number people out there, we've found that 28% of the reef area is protected, but that 28% contributes 50% of the juveniles for the reef area as a whole. Many people ask, how can that be? And the answer goes back to that current that you float unknowingly down at the beach. When these fish reproduce, there is what we call a larval phase, which comes after the fish are in egg form, but they haven't fully developed, and therefore they can't swim very well yet. When these larvae are floating in the water, it's just like you floating on your raft. You go wherever the current takes you. The fish in these protected areas can grow to reproductive age without being fished, lay these eggs, which become larvae, and stay in the protected areas, or maybe leave. And just like those fish, those larvae that are now floating through the water, some can stay in the protected areas, but many get carried to the areas that people are allowed to fish in. Because of this movement along that current, the adults in the reserved areas are not only helping to keep the numbers of fish stable in the protected area, but they also help to replace the fish that are being taken out in the unprotected areas. These protected areas are therefore really important because not only do people enjoy fishing for fun, but they also use it as a source of their living and many people for their food. So having these protected areas is really helpful to making sure that fishing can not only continue for the people that are enjoying it today or tomorrow or next week, but also the people in the more distant future that want to go fishing. Because by having these protected areas, it makes sure that this population or this number of actual fish in this area can stay at a rate that people are allowed to continue fishing without the fish going away for the long term in that area.